opportunistically lying about one's race is not forgivable to the left. It's just not Elizabeth Warren. And I realize that you're dogpiling on Joe Biden and trying to call him out for some actual racist policy support back numerous decades ago. And I do think that he is wrong. And I think that, yeah, more people should be pointing to that fact. It makes me wonder about the motives, though, of somebody who actually lied about their own race to take advantage of positive things that she could potentially achieve by lying. And that's such a bad way of lying, you know? I think it's horrible, and I think that it's going to be really hard for people to take her seriously as she continues to talk about her views on how other people cannot be racist, because she did such a thing that just, you can't stop talking about it. And once you realize it, which I think that most people simply don't, because they don't pay attention to anything besides left-wing news, and they don't really even follow many of the mini leftist politicians because they don't actually like them. So they don't follow them like we follow the people that we actually kind of are rooting for in politics, potentially. They just unanimously side with progressives. They are not going to side with a Democratic moderate that's actually kind of decent. They're going to attack them if they aren't and try to insert themselves. So I think everybody's going to be really skeptical of everything that she throws at Biden, but fortunately enough, everybody agrees that Biden is a racist and was a historic racist, in fact. And I think that likely in his position, it would mean that he is actually a racist person, because he's just not been somebody that has seemed otherwise. Like, he's not even very good at pretending, as far as I know. So, yeah, here's the thing. When you realize that Elizabeth Warren lied about this in a way that truly shapes her soul, basically, like that's what this is actually shaping. This is a sign of something deep within her soul. This isn't the sign of an individual that made a bad choice or two. This is a sign of much deeper. And I think that the longer people go talking about this, which it's so easy to say, it's such a quick little tidbit, the longer people go on talking about that type of thing about her in regards to race, the more and more they'll realize that when she was really young, 18 or so, she decided to lie on a college entrance examination, which is actually a really bad thing to do even at that age, because you know what you're doing when you do such things. You know that you're doing something that is very, very likely wrong. You just know it. And to never backtrack even the slightest for all of her political career, and doubling down so hard that she provided ancestry DNA tests to Donald Trump and the world to try to say that she still was Native American, that's just completely horrible. When you think about the way the left thinks, it's a trope that somebody would actually do something like that. It's like the worst possible type of white person in the left's eyes. Think about how they treated Rachel Dolezal. She wasn't just hated by the right. If you want to look up articles about her from the left, they're pretty merciless. They probably hate Rachel Dolezal more than right-wing people. Everybody hates that woman. So everybody hates that woman, right? And there Elizabeth Warren is trying to be some sort of anti-racist, politician, speaker. She's all trying to be woke. There's a reason why people call her Wokahontas. So it's just corny as hell. It is just so corny. It is just so uncool. Like, it's as uncool as a 45-year-old Rastafarian white guy who actually has a lot of money and maybe wears polo shirts with nice slacks, tucked in. And he is also a Rastafarian with 2 or 3 kids. And he's, like trying to show up to a young person's party acting like they're supposed to accept him. That is what this is like to the left. That is exactly what they will see this as. There's nothing that anybody can do about that. And the left gets by with coolness now. They became the party of cool. And it always kind of was that way. But, in the 1990s, in the Clinton era, most young people didn't really care about politics. That was the problem. That was the apathetic Generation Xers. If you were around in that time and aware enough to be realistic about how these people were talked about, Gen Xers were given it rough. They were told that they didn't care about anything, that they had problems making friends, that they were loners, and they were all drug addicts, and blah, 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 blah. And those were the actions that somewhat reflected the Clintons, except for on some very small special occasions to a certain degree when he was trying to connect with the youth audience, which he was actually good for. But Elizabeth Warren simply isn't. She will never get the youth vote, not only because, who said this really well, who I don't normally really watch, but he said this really well, was Hunter Avallone. And he said that basically, I don't remember what the sentence was, but basically he was like, hey, guess what? Your annoying aunt is running for president. And that's what she's like. She's like somebody's annoying aunt that if you ever go shopping with her, she's being really rude to all the cashiers and demanding and just awful and terribly embarrassing to be around. That is what Elizabeth Warren reads when you listen to her speak long enough. Now, I don't think many people on the left have actually sat down and listened to her speak because they spend a miraculous amount of time not watching YouTube. I don't know what's up with that. How can anybody not watch YouTube videos all day? What do you do? What do you have to think about? That would be, me if I didn't kind of know what these people are actually like. I just know what they actually would do with their time. So yeah, even if Joe Biden gets knocked out of the running, I don't think she's going to be able to carry the torch of the top contender for long. I think that it's just way too easy to attack her. What if, the Democratic Party is running people and expecting them to get knocked out of the race at this point? Putting up the disposable front like lambs to the slaughter to use so they have a better idea what people are into, and also maybe so they surprise this year and elect an underdog in quotes. I don't know. I mean, we know they rig elections, at least certainly their primaries. So it's sometimes worth pondering the type of motivation for who is running and everything together under the Democratic Party banner. But at the same time, we don't really know. And all of those politicians are egomaniacs. They are complete egomaniacs, and they think that they are the second coming or whatever in a lot of instances. So yeah, this is just my take based around really being around so many anti-racist white people and stuff over the course of my life. I swear to God, where I grew up, Seattle, is the absolute most anti-racist white people city that you can ever go to, because there isn't really very many racial minorities in Seattle aside from Asian people. There's not a lot of black people, and there's certainly almost no Latinx people in Washington state in general. And so I just sort of think it's a situation where everybody ends up trying so hard that it's kind of ridiculous. And I think that attitude is epitomized in Elizabeth Warren.